What's up guys, I'm Simon here with Tech Sport Off-Road, and behind me is my 3rd Gen Tacoma and 9 of our favorite exhausts. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put every single one of these exhausts in my Tacoma. We're gonna strap it down to the dyno, see if we pick up any power, see if they sound good, see if they drone, and we'll let you know what our favorite is. So with that, let's get to it. So you can see we've got a wide variety of exhausts here. Certainly there are a lot more options on the market, so this only captures some of our favorites, some of the ones we were most interested in. If there's any other ones that you'd like to see, definitely let us know in the comments. First up on the list, we've got the Borla exhaust. I've heard great things about this one, heard they sound really good. Next, we've got the AWE exhaust. This one's kind of cool because it's a true dual exhaust, so it actually replaces the factory Y pipe, unlike a lot of these options. So I'm really interested to see how that sounds, see if we get any extra power from that. Got the MBRP exhaust. I've heard good things about that one. We've got the Afe Power exhaust. This one is the more performance-oriented version. Above that, we've got Magna Flow. And then we've got the other Afe exhaust. This is the Rock Basher exhaust. So this one is high clearance, low profile exhaust, meant to just kind of give you a nice sound, maybe give you a little bit of extra power and durability. If you're constantly banging your truck on rocks like we are, this might be a really good option. With the Gibson exhaust, the Corsa exhaust, and the engine exhaust. The engine exhaust, although it's the biggest box, it's actually the lightest box, so that was pretty interesting. But yeah, we've got a wide variety here, and we're excited to see how they all compare to one another, so let's get to it. All right, guys, so we've got our truck strapped down to the dyno. You can see here we've got an Afe air intake installed. That'll be the same throughout all of our tests. So I guess that should be nice and uniform. We don't have an exhaust installed right now. We just have our OEM exhaust, and we're gonna run it, see how much power it makes. We're also running a 33-inch tire, so with that, we lose a little bit of power and torque. So you'll see that on the baseline, but that will also be reflected on all the other graphs as well. But with that, we'll see what it does. So we have a lot of exhausts to test, and each of them we're going to get an interior noise reading. So we've got a decibel meter. We're going to figure out how many decibels the exhaust, how many decibels I guess you can hear from inside the cab. But before we do that, we've still got our OEM exhaust installed. So we're going to get a baseline. Essentially what we're going to do is pull out onto the highway. I'm going to just pull out normal on the first one, kind of, just accelerating like I'm driving around town. Then I'm gonna U-turn, I'm gonna really get on it and rev it out high, and so we'll have a max decibel reading for both. We can kind of use that as a reference to see how much louder these other exhausts are. So with that, go ahead and pull out onto the highway here in just a second. Just pulling out normally onto the highway, we got a max decibel reading of about 68. I really kind of topped out at about 3,000 RPM there, so not really asking a lot of it. But now, when I U-turn, I'm gonna go ahead and really get on it, probably get up to like 5,000 or 6,000 RPM, and we'll see how much louder it is. Turning around and revving it out a bit more aggressive than we normally would. We got a decibel reading of 83. So obviously a bit louder than just driving it around normal. When we rev it out high, we can hear it. But being the factory exhaust, there's no drone, nothing like that. So in all these tests, what we're gonna do is we're gonna rev them out high and just kind of make note as we're driving along at normal speeds, what it sounds like, is it droning and whatnot. But this is kind of good for us to start out our testing so that we have a good understanding of what the factory exhaust sounds like and what we're comparing to. All right guys, so it is time. We're gonna go ahead and get our factory exhaust off, and we're gonna decide which exhaust we're gonna put on here first. So let's get to it. So we got our OEM exhaust uninstalled, and we're ready to go ahead and get a new exhaust installed. So we'll start with this one right here on top. This is the Afe Rock Basher. Let's go ahead and open this thing up. So this is a 2.5-inch exhaust. Looks like it's all stainless. And it looks like it's gonna be the most low profile exhaust of all the ones we're testing for this shootout. So we'll go ahead and open this up. Nice and simple, just a few pieces in here. Got our muffler, got 2 tubes, and it looks like we have some exhaust clamps, some stickers, install guide, and a turn down. This one's nice and shiny, so yeah, I think we're about ready to get this installed, see how it sounds. All right, so it looks like we got a bag with some stickers, an install guide, and a couple exhaust clamps. I don't see any hardware or any exhaust gaskets in here. Granted, we only need one exhaust gasket, but if you don't have one and yours needs replacing, you'll want to go to the parts store and pick up a new one. You'll also need new exhaust bolts if yours were anything like mine. So 2 things to watch out for, but otherwise it looks like this kit is completely ready to install. So we'll go ahead and get to it. Alright guys, so we just finished installing the Afe Rock Basher exhaust. We're going to do the same exact thing that we did on the last test with the OEM exhaust, where essentially I'm going to pull out onto the highway just like I normally would. I'm going to go nice and slow, just get up to speed, you know, at a reasonable pace, and see what our max decibel reading is there. Then from there, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to really get on it and see what it sounds like when we rev it out. So with that, I'll go ahead and get going. So we got a max decibel reading on that one of about 76. So we're gonna go ahead and turn around. We'll really get on it and see how much louder it is. So that time we got a max decibel reading of about 88. That's a little bit louder than the stock one. Still pretty, I guess, refined. It's definitely not an obnoxious exhaust by any means. I think just, you know, cruising at highway speeds like we are right now, it's pretty tame. I wouldn't mind this on my daily driver, and I especially like the high clearance aspect of this exhaust. So I would definitely consider keeping this one on here. Overall, seems pretty good. So I guess from here, we'll go ahead and drive back to the shop and we'll get this thing on the dyno and see if we're making any more power. All right guys, next up on the list, we got our Gibson 2.5 inch Catback exhaust. So let's see how it looks. Got pipe and some hardware. Looks like we got a bolt-on hanger, it seems. Exhaust clamps, nuts and bolts. Got our exhaust tip here. We'll open that up in a second. Got a box in our box. There is our muffler. So, interesting looking in there. More hardware in here. Single nut, bolt. Ooh, that looks cool. I like this finish. It's like a nice gunmetal gray. Looks cool. Let's put this thing together. So this is the Gibson Black Elite Trail Kit. Like I said, it's just a 2.5 inch exhaust. It looks pretty nice. You got a nice sticker with it. Check out the install guide. Looks like it should be pretty straightforward. I think the process is pretty similar for most of these. The only thing that's different with this one is it has a hanger that bolts on. So we'll figure that out here in just a second. 2 exhaust clamps, we got our bolt-on hanger, I believe this is the nut and bolt for the hanger. So looking at the instructions, it looks like this part's gonna go on first. We'll put our muffler on, and then we'll put the rear section on last, and then we'll install our exhaust system. So we're most of the way done installing this Gibson exhaust. Definitely want to keep gloves on for this one because it looks like some of these parts shipped covered in a lot of anti-seize. So watch out for that. I've been playing with this, trying to get the orientation correct. And no matter how I twist it around, the axle dump seems really close to the leaf spring. I'm not 100% sure if our exhaust tip is gonna fit. You can see it's kind of resting on the leaf. So I guess I'll work it up, let it sit high like this. A little strange, but we'll go with it. All right, so it looks like our Gibson exhaust is installed. We had a couple extra bolts that maybe had some other use, but we've got this thing completely installed without them, so I think we're in good shape. We'll go ahead and lower it down, see what it sounds like, get a driving impression, and then see if it makes more power. Alright guys, so we've got our Gibson exhaust installed. We're ready to do a road noise test. So essentially same thing, gonna pull out normal, and then we'll turn around, we'll really get on it and see how it sounds. Alright, so just pulling out normal, I got up to about 3,000 RPM, and we got a reading of 68 decibels, so not too bad. It sounded pretty quiet, you know, driving it like that. Go ahead and turn around, and we'll really get on it and see how it sounds. Alright, so we just kind of really got on it, revved it out all the way up to 6,000 RPM, and we got a max decibel reading about 86.4, so considerably louder than, you know, just putting around. But I don't really notice a drone with this one. It'll be interesting to see how much power it makes versus the stock, versus the other options. But overall, it's pretty subtle. You can definitely hear it, you know, when you're on it, but off throttle, you know, just cruising around, it's, you know, pretty subtle. So, not too bad. Alright guys, so last night we were taking off the Gibson exhaust, 5 o'clock rolled around, and we thought, you know what, let's just drive it home and see what it sounds like with no exhaust, and see how much power, just I guess out of sheer curiosity, it makes with no exhaust on it. So we still have the factory wide pipe, but basically everything from there back is gone. So we've got it strapped down to the dyno here. We're gonna see if it makes any extra power. It's not as loud as I expected it to be, but it doesn't sound good. Definitely, you know, like if I were a high school kid just messing around, like this might be kind of fun, but I would definitely not do this to my truck in reality, but just, you know, just to see, we decided to run it, you know, around town, and we're gonna see on the dyno if it makes any extra power with no exhaust at all. So let's find out. Alright guys, so we're about to do our on-road sound sample with no exhaust at all. Like I said, this is kind of a silly setup. If you were actually going to run it like this, which I wouldn't, I would at least put a turn down on it. Since we're just kind of driving up and down the road real quick, we'll be fine without it. But yeah, I guess we'll see how it sounds and see how loud it is in the interior with no exhaust at all. So just driving around normal, just pulling out onto the road like I normally would, we got a max decibel reading of 82.5, which is pretty close to what we were getting on those exhausts full throttle. So a lot louder. Still, like I said, not as loud as I expected it to be, but definitely loud enough that I wouldn't do this to my daily driver. But yeah, now I'm gonna pull out and I'm gonna really get on it, and we'll see how much louder it is from there. So on that one, we got a reading of 90.9 decibels, which is definitely the loudest so far. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. For now, I'm really interested to see if we picked up any power, just having, you know, no exhaust at all, or if anything. I guess, you know, I would kind of expect maybe to pick up the most power in that case, but I don't know, maybe there's something to be said for the flow that an exhaust would provide, I guess lack of turbulence rather. So I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, doesn't sound, it sounds fun. It doesn't sound great. Definitely wouldn't do this for a daily driver, but I don't know, it's kind of fun for our test. So all right, so next up on the list we got the MagnaFlow exhaust. Let's go ahead and check this one out. Looks like this is also a 2.5 inch. Got our muffler right here. Oh, that's cool. It comes with a little patch. Got our install guide right here, some stickers. Got an exhaust hanger, clamp, combo, a bunch of exhaust clamps, and this cool patch. Turn down with hanger and warranty info with another cool sticker. So leave that in there for now, and go ahead and get this thing assembled and installed. So one cool thing about this MagnaFlow exhaust is it can actually be run with 3 different kind of tone settings. So reading from the install guide, there are 3 settings. The loudest one, or what they call the most aggressive one, would just be if I were to cap this second chamber right here with this cap, or the moderate setting would be to cap this U chamber like this, and then install the U chamber up over the top of the muffler. And then the most conservative setting, or the quietest setting, would be to install the resonator on the U chamber and then put this up over the muffler. So for the sake of this video, we're gonna run it in that moderate setting. I'm gonna do the U pipe with the cap, see how that sounds. But yeah, should be interesting. Alright guys, so we've got our MagnaFlow exhaust installed with the kind of mild setting on the resonator, not the quietest, but not the loudest either. So we're going to do another on-road test. I'm going to pull out slow and then turn around and go fast, and we'll see how it sounds. So let's do it. So just pulling out normal. Wasn't too loud. I got up a little bit higher in the RPM than I usually would. This one, it went up to about 3,200 RPM, and we read out 73 decibels. So not too bad, nice and quiet for daily driving, but now we're gonna go ahead and pull out on the road and see how loud it really is. So pulling out and really getting on it, we got up to 87 decibels, so a bit louder. Right now I'm just cruising, sitting at 2,000-ish RPM, and it's not bad. Definitely not really any noticeable drone, so pretty happy with this one. Go ahead, turn around, get to the shop, and get the next one installed. right, guys, so next up on the list, we've got our Corsa Performance exhaust. Let's go ahead and check it out. Nice packaging. So this one's stainless, and this one's gonna be a 3-inch exhaust. So I'm excited to see how that compares performance-wise. Maybe we'll pick up a little bit of extra power since it's maybe more free-flowing. As far as the components go, we got our front pipe here. Looks like this would be the rear section, obviously. The exhaust tip on it. Got a large piece to go up and over the axle, and it looks like that will span the gap from our muffler we got right here. Biggest around muffler I think we've seen so far. It looks nice. A little stainless. Yeah, so check it out. Got a little hidden reservoir up in there, so that's kind of neat. And then in this direction, we'll have to make sure we get the flow direction on this correct, because we don't want to mess that up. So we'll check that out here in a second. We get some anti-seize and some bolts, so that's nice. Oh, this is the first exhaust to come with replacement bolts. That's nice because you'll almost certainly need them. So good on Corsa for including those for us. Got 3 clamps, and looks like that's about it. So let's get it installed. We got the exhaust mostly fitted up. I got to slip in this last hanger here. Again, this is the Corsa 3-inch exhaust. It looks really nice so far. I like this one a lot. The only thing I'm kind of worried about, that's probably not an issue, but I'm just kind of curious, is I'm running an OEM leaf pack, but I'm curious if I was running a lifted leaf pack that had a steeper arch to it, if I would make contact here between the tailpipe and the leaf pack. Like I said, probably not, but it is a little close, so maybe something to watch out for, but I don't know. So not an issue in our case. I'm gonna go ahead and get this finished up and we'll test it out. So we got our Corsa exhaust fully installed. Let's go ahead and set this down and see how it sounds. So we've got our Corsa 3-inch exhaust installed. Let's go ahead and pull out on the road and see what it sounds like. So just pulling out normal, we got a decibel reading of about 75.5, so a little bit higher than the last one. Not too bad though, inside the cab, totally tasteful. I'd say it actually sounds pretty good. So we'll go ahead and turn around and really get on it and see how loud it gets. So really revving it out, we got up to about 86 decibels, so pretty similar to some of the other options. It sounds good. Just driving around, I don't really notice any drone. I guess if I kind of rev it out to about 3,000, that's over 3,000 right there. This is about 2,500 and not really any noticeable drone, so I'm pretty happy with this one. Turn around and get the next one. Guys, next up on the list, we've got our second Afe exhaust. First one we tested was a low profile, kind of high clearance option called the Rock Basher, but this one is going to be a little bit different. We'll go ahead and open this up and I'll show you. So this one is the MACH Force XP exhaust. I think this is a bigger exhaust, kind of more performance oriented. So this is going to be a larger exhaust than the first one we tested. That was a higher clearance option. I think this is more of a performance and sound oriented. Granted, the performance and sound on the first one was excellent, but I'm interested to see how this compares. We'll go ahead and get this installed and see how it does. Opening the box up, it looks like this is gonna be a 3-inch exhaust. I've got our tube that snakes up and over the axle here. That's one of the biggest things that distinguishes this from that first exhaust we tested. So it's gonna be one of the biggest things that distinguishes this from the first one we tested. This one goes up and over the axle, and this is a 3-inch exhaust as well, versus that first one just kind of dumps right before the axle. So kind of different approach, but quality looks good so far. We've got our axle tube, or the part that goes over the axle. We've got an extension for the long bed guys, and we've got our front pipe here. So we'll set these aside. Large muffler on this one. Looks pretty good so far. We'll go ahead and get this thing unwrapped. We've got a bag full of exhaust clamps. Seems pretty standard so far. We've got stickers and an install guide. It looks like this is gonna be an exhaust tip if I had to guess. Yep, so here's our exhaust tip. Looks like we got a nice powder coated black with a cool riveted tag on here and an exhaust clamp. So this looks nice. We'll set this aside. Pretty standard, comes with lots of stickers and a nice license plate frame. So that's pretty cool. Got a bunch of these at this point, so don't need that. But cool that they offer it. Got our warranty information here, and we'll go ahead and unbox unwrap this muffler. So we've got a nice looking muffler here. So looks like this should be pretty similar install to the rest of it. Go ahead and get this thing installed. All right guys, so we just finished installing our Afe MACH Force XP exhaust. That install went well, pretty straightforward. A little bit of tight clearance between the spare tire and the leaf spring hanger, but it fit nice nonetheless, so we're good to go. We're gonna run this down the road, see what it sounds like, get our decibel reading, and see if it makes power. So let's do it. All right, so just pulling out onto the road normal, we got a decibel reading of 79, so not too bad. So you can definitely tell there's an exhaust on this one. At idle, you would never really know, but pulling out, you know, it's got a nice growl to it. This one's got a deeper tone to it, it seems like. Sounds good. I wouldn't say that any of these have sounded raspy by any means, except for obviously running it with no exhaust. But I feel like this one has a deeper note than the rest of them. I like the way it sounds. It's still subtle, you know, just pulling out. I'm gonna turn around, rev it out, and see what it sounds like up high. All right, so we turned around and we revved this thing out high, and we got a max decibel reading of 83.8, so right up there with the rest of them. Sounds pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and turn around. We'll kind of cruise at highway speeds for a minute and see what the drone sounds like, but overall, pretty good. All right, guys, next on the list, we got the MBRP exhaust. Let's check it out. All right, we got our front tube here. Looks like we got a separate box for our exhaust tip. It's a good looking exhaust tip, very shiny. Hardware is built in. Instead of using a big exhaust clamp, this one just has a bolt built into it that you'll tighten up. So it's kind of nice, looks a little cleaner. Looks like we got the rear section that'll go up and over the axle. This is gonna be a 3-inch exhaust as well. So that's kind of neat, should be plenty free flowing. We'll set this aside and check out the muffler. Much smaller muffler on this one than some of the other options we've seen. There it is, pretty simple. Looks like they weld the baffles in from the outside, which is kind of neat. Overall, pretty clean. Yeah, definitely a notably smaller muffler or resonator on this than the rest of them. We'll have to make sure that we get the direction, or figure out if this is directional, and if it is, make sure we get that direction right. Doesn't look like it's directional because it's got kind of scallops on the inside that you can see from both directions. So I don't think it should be an issue. We'll check out the install guide. Overall, it looks nice. So we'll go ahead and check out our hardware. It looks like we got 2 exhaust clamps with a, looks like it's gonna be a bolt-on hanger. So check that out, figure out how that goes on. I don't see a bolt. If that hanger is bolt-on, I don't see an extra bolt. So check out the install guide and find out. A little bit lagging on the install guide here, that's okay. All of these have been pretty straightforward. All right, so one thing that is unlike the rest of the kits that this MBRP exhaust does is, instead of including an extension for the long wheelbase trucks, they oversize the front pipe and they'll have you cut it down for the short wheelbase. That's an interesting move considering most of these trucks are gonna be the short wheelbase. But you know, not too much trouble. We'll just have to go find a saw and trim this down. So definitely noteworthy. As far as install goes, this is by default going to be the hardest one just because of that. It doesn't include the replacement bolts for the front. Like some of them, actually, we've only had one kit so far include those bolts. But yeah, and it looks like we have to attach an exhaust hanger to an exhaust clamp. So that's interesting. We'll check that out. But yeah, I guess we're gonna modify this out of the box. All right, so like we mentioned before, this pipe on the MBRP exhaust comes essentially too long for the majority of trucks out there. So most of the people who install this will have to trim it down, and we are gonna do that. So it says to trim it to 20 1/8 inch. So I've got a tape measure here and a point marker. We'll go ahead and mark it there. I imagine that it's pretty forgiving on that front. All right, that should be good enough to mark our cut. We'll go ahead and throw this in the bandsaw and get it trimmed down. All right, so we got our front pipe trimmed down to the short bed length. I guess we'll go ahead and grab either a file or maybe a die grinder and clean up the sharp edges off of that, or I guess just deburr it. And then we should be ready to complete the install just like normal and go from there. So one thing the MBRP kit did that was kind of strange, to be honest, is they put the exhaust hanger on the clamp, and the problem with that is the material thickness on the hanger itself. When you add that underneath the nut, it drives the clamp together. So to fit it on, and we had to loosen that nut. Basically, this is as far as I can loosen it. You can, if you look in here, you can see I just maybe have one thread engaged, and that was barely wide enough to get the clamp open enough to slide into place on this slip fitting. So kind of had to finesse that a little bit to get that in place, but eventually we were able to do it and get this well, opened wide enough to slip into place. Now we can go ahead and install our exhaust bushing back. We pulled that off earlier. But yeah, basically we just had to get it to where we had a single thread engaged, and that was just wide enough to slip it into place. Now we're good to go ahead and tighten that back up. Alright guys, so we just got done installing the MBRP exhaust. First impressions, just pulling out of the parking lot to where we are now. This one is, I'm fairly certain, the loudest one. It sounds cool. It's the only one that I can hear at idle. So like just sitting here idling. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on camera, but I can definitely notice it. So, and that kind of makes sense because it's the smallest muffler so far. The install, you know, was a little tough. We had to cut it to length, and then the hardware was a little finicky, but nonetheless, we got it installed in a decent amount of time, and we're ready to do some testing on the road. So what we're gonna do is pull out onto the road, go nice and slow, just like we normally would, turn around, go fast, and see how loud it gets. Alright, so pulling out of the shop, we got about 79.5 decibels. That was just driving normally, so easy on the throttle, getting out of there. We're gonna turn around and rev it out, see how much louder it is. Alright, so we just revved that one out pretty high, and we got a max decibel reading of 84.3. Interestingly enough, that's not the highest that we've seen on the top end, but I would still say that this is easily the loudest exhaust on the list. Just cruising around, you know, that's 4,000 RPM right there, and it's pretty loud. Cruising around at like 3,000, it's noticeable for sure. You know, if you're worried about drone, this might not be the best option, but that's not to say that this is bad exhaust. You know, this is definitely one of the more affordable options, and if you're looking for a really aggressive sound, it's definitely got it. So what we're going to do now is find out if it's got that performance aspect going for it. We're going to go get this thing on the dyno and see how much power it makes. Alright guys, next up we got Borla exhaust. Let's go ahead and check it out. Oh, that's cool. We got a hat. We got our install guide. Set this aside. A couple band clamps on top, our exhaust clamps. All right, that is packed in there. We got the rear section of our pipe with the nice shiny polished tip, it looks like. Oh yeah, that's really clean. That's pretty cool. This is a 2.5-inch exhaust. Looks pretty good so far. Got the front section here. Got our muffler right here, pretty big. Nice, good looking stainless. Cleaned up pretty well. Go ahead and get it installed. Alright guys, so Borla exhaust install went well. Let's go ahead and get our road noise test. So pulling out onto the road normally, we got a max decibel reading of 72.5, so not too bad. Let's go ahead and turn around. We'll get on it and see how loud it is. Alright, so pulled out onto the road, really got on it, and we got a max decibel reading of 85.5, so not too bad. Driving around, right now we're sitting at 1,500 RPM, not too much drone. If I get that up to about 2,000, you can hear it, but I wouldn't really call it a drone. Around 3,000, you start to hear it a bit more. Definitely, you know, a nice sounding exhaust, definitely refined, but not obnoxious. That's kind of seems to be a recurring theme with all these ones that we've tested so far. Is maybe, I don't know, it's subjective. All of the sound testing, aside from the decibel readings, but like the noise and whatnot, is subjective. And maybe I'm desensitized to it from driving louder cars and trucks, but I feel like all of these are just pretty tasteful. I haven't, aside from just driving it around straight pipe, there hasn't really been one so far that I'm like, oh, this is just too loud or too drony. They've all been pretty good so far. So pretty happy on that front. We're gonna go ahead and head back to the shop and get another one installed. Alright guys, next up on the list we've got our Engine Super SES exhaust. Let's go ahead and check it out. So we've got our bag of hardware right here, just 3 hose clamps like the rest of the kits. Comes with an exhaust gasket. I don't know if this is the exact correct style exhaust gasket. At least it's a little different from the OEM. It might still work for this application. The OEM is like more of a donut shape that kind of slides over a protrusion on the pipe, versus this one is a sandwich between the 2 flanges. So this might still work. We'll check it out. Got our installation instructions right here. Looks like it's just a QR code. Yep, got our clamps and whatnot. We'll set all that aside. Packing material. This looks like it's one of the smallest mufflers yet, so I'm excited to hear how this sounds. Get some nice wrapping on it. We'll go ahead and open this up as well. Yeah, that's really nice. This is one of the best looking mufflers we've seen so far. Even just like looking inside of it, it's got a little vortex shape on the, like almost like rifling, for lack of a better word, I guess, on the mesh inside the muffler, so that's cool looking. But yeah, great looking muffler here. Got our front pipe, it looks like. Nice stainless cast flanges, really good welds on these. But yeah, kind of a lot of attention to detail on this. It looks really good. Got, I believe this would be an extension pipe for a long wheelbase. We'll confirm that in just a minute. And then our turn down right here. So with that, let's go ahead and get this all installed. This is obviously really, really nice. This is just unbelievable how shiny it is. You can see yourself just like it was a mirror in here. So on my truck, this would get scratched up very quickly, but it also does seem to be really high clearance too. I think of all the options we've tested so far, this one will be the most high clearance, so we'll see how it does. But yeah, super high quality looking, and just amazed how reflective they managed to get this muffler. All right, so we got the front pipe fitted up here onto the exhaust flange, or the factory exhaust flange. The exhaust gasket they include is it lines up, but it's a little tricky to get it lined up. So just be patient there. Surely not too bad, but overall this looks great. It looks like this is a 3-inch stainless exhaust, so a little bit more free flowing. And it looks like it just kind of dumps right here above the axle. So we'll go ahead and get the muffler installed and see how it does. Alright guys, so we got our engine exhaust installed. This is a 3-inch stainless exhaust, and it looks freaking awesome. This is the best looking exhaust in my opinion that we've installed so far. I've got super nice looking cast flange here, really good quality welds. This exhaust gasket was a little bit tricky to line up, but not bad. I mean, overall, I mean, the quality on this is just great. Unbelievable how shiny they got this muffler. The turn down looks nice, kind of dumps right before the axle. And the install was just easy. Also worth noting that you can see this pipe snakes up and out of the way here, and I think that makes this the highest cleared exhaust that we've installed so far. The Rock Basher was great too, but this one really gets up and out of the way. I think I could still find a way to scratch this up pretty bad on a trail, but that's just part of the fun. Overall, I mean, this looks awesome, and I'm excited to see if it makes power and what it sounds like. All right, guys, we've got our engine 3-inch stainless exhaust installed. Been really impressed with this one so far, and now it's time to go out, get on the road, and see how it sounds. Same thing we've been doing. We're gonna pull out normal, and we're gonna turn around and get on it. So let's see how it sounds. All right, now I guess the decibel readings will confirm or deny this, but so far, this one is definitely the loudest exhaust. Most of these have been pretty subtle so far, but just pulling out normal, we got almost 82 decibels, which is a bit noisy. It sounds really cool. I like this one a lot. This is kind of more what I'm used to, you know, just from exhausts that I've run in the past. They've all been pretty loud, and this one's kind of up there. Don't get me wrong, it sounds really good, but you can hear it for sure. So we're gonna turn around, get on it, and see what it really sounds like at high revs. So let's find out. So up top, really revving this thing out, we got it up to 85 decibels. So still on par with the rest of them in the high range, just a little bit louder down low. Sounds really good. I like this one a lot. You know, just driving around right now, you really notice that you have an exhaust on this one. On some of these other ones, you know, maybe if you hadn't told me I had it installed, if I was just driving normal, I might not really notice it. I mean, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, you know, that certainly all of them have had some notable sound difference, but this one you really notice driving around. And so if you're, you know, looking for a performance exhaust and you care about the noise a lot, this might be the perfect one for you. This one sounds good, and definitely know that you have it. So I'm really interested to see, you know, how the power numbers came out with this one. But as far as drivability goes, you notice it, but it sounds good. I hate to call it drone because it doesn't sound bad, but it's there. You know, this is not a quiet exhaust. That being said, I really like it. So definitely worth considering, but overall impressed with the quality on this one. The sound is good, but it's one of our louder exhausts. I'm excited to see how much power this one makes, but with that, we're gonna go ahead and get back to the shop and get the next one going. All right, guys, so for our very last exhaust in the shootout, we've got our AWE True Dual exhaust. I'm super excited for this one because this is is the only one in this particular lineup that is a true dual exhaust, meaning that instead of bolting up behind the factory Y pipe, this one actually replaces the factory Y pipe and runs dual exhaust all the way to the tailpipe. So that's pretty cool. I'm really interested to see if there's any performance benefits and if it sounds better or sounds different. We'll find out. But for now, we'll go ahead and get this thing unboxed and then get it installed. Looks like we got a kind of mirror piece to that one that will also go over the axle. This might be an extension. We'll confirm here in just a second. Interesting. So there might be multiple. We'll have to, don't recall off the top of my head, but much smaller looking muffler on this one than some of the other ones we've seen, but maybe there's another one in here. Another section here. Set this over on the table, don't want this to get scratched up. So a lot of our kits have come with 2 or 3 exhaust clamps. We've got a lot of exhaust clamps here. So lots of pieces that will need to fit together, right? I can only imagine. Definitely see a lot going in here. And yeah, it looks like we've got another muffler section right here. So we'll keep that around for install here in just a second. Looks like we've got a midsection here with a crossover. So that's pretty cool. Looking inside of it, I guess where the crossover pipe meets the 2 sides of the exhaust is pretty smooth. So that's cool. Should keep flow nice and even. Help with scavenging there. Looks like potentially another extension, which I don't expect to have to use. And lots of paper in here. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh yeah, we got a whole muffler hiding in here. So looks like we got 3 mufflers total. I'm wondering if maybe instead of extensions, if you could run one of these in place of a muffler. Looks like that might be the case. So we might be able to control the volume with this one. We've got all the pieces for the Afe True Dual Bash Guard exhaust laid out here. They even shipped us a nice piece of candy and our install guide. And the install guide for this one is actually just a QR code. And they have a funny note in here that says, 98% of their reported fitment issues are from people who do not scan the QR code. So definitely want to scan that QR code, and I can see why. There's a lot more pieces here than basically any of the other exhausts we installed. So with that, we're going to read through, make sure we know how to do this correct, and go ahead and get it assembled. All right, guys, we just got done installing our AWE True Dual exhaust. This is a 2.5-inch exhaust. We got essentially a delete for our factory Y pipe, and we run 2 2.5-inch tubes all the way down to our muffler here, and then dual resonators back here up to our bash guard tips. I like the bash guard tip idea because, you know, personally, I'm known to destroy exhaust tips on my trucks. I guess, you know, going out on the trails and bashing these things off of rocks, it's just par with the course. And, you know, AWE kind of thought of that and gave you a quick, easy swap out tip. And it overall looks really nice. Definitely looks more complicated than the rest of them, but I really like the idea and the thought process behind it. You know, having that true dual exhaust with 2 2.5-inch tubes instead of a single 3-inch or a single 2.5-inch tube, and all that is met up with an H pipe for, you know, proper scavenging and whatnot, and it just looks great. I'm really, really excited, 1, to see what it sounds like, and 2, to see if all this, you know, extra technology that goes into this one is going to give us some extra power. So I guess we will find out here in just a minute. We're going to go ahead and set this down, start it up, and get it on the dyno. Alright guys, so we just got done installing our very last exhaust for this shootout. This is the AWE dual exhaust. The install went well. The exhaust itself just looks cool. I'm pretty excited about the all the things going on with it, you know, the double resonators and the true dual with the H pipe. I just think it's pretty cool. So far, you know, revving it out in the shop, it sounds really good. It's definitely got a really unique tone to it. We're gonna get to hear it a little bit more here when we pull out onto the road. Same as the other exhausts, we're gonna pull out normal, get on it, and we'll see how it sounds. So let's do it. So pulling out of the shop there like we normally would, we got 79.9 decibels, so not too bad. This one isn't, I wouldn't consider this myself a super loud exhaust, so far at least. It sounds pretty good, and it's got a really unique sound. It sounds unlike all the other ones we've tested, and that makes sense, you know, considering the whole setup is pretty different. But, you know, just driving around like we normally would, it's pretty subtle. I would definitely consider it, you know, a nice refined sound, but we're gonna turn around, really get on it, and see how loud it gets. Alright, so we revved it out really high. We got it up to about 6,000 RPM, and we hit a max decibel reading of about 86.4. That is on the louder side as far as some of the exhausts that we've tested go, but it's really not bad. I wouldn't even consider it a little bit bad, to be honest. It's a good sounding exhaust. You know, obviously it's a subjective matter. You know, everyone's opinion is going to be different on as far as the sound goes. But even though it's loud up top, just cruising around, sitting at like 2,000 or 3,000 RPM, you hear it. It's there, but it's not annoying. It's not even a little bit annoying. It just sounds good. It sounds like you're driving a car with a performance exhaust on it. So with that, this one definitely has, like I said, a really unique tone to it. I wouldn't really, it's similar, but it's different enough from all the other ones with that, true dual setup with the H-pipe. I guess it's not super surprising that it sounds different, but what I'm really interested to see is, does that make more power? So we're gonna head back to the shop, we're gonna put this thing on the dyno, and we're gonna see what this thing does, how much power it makes. So stay tuned for that. Alright guys, so we just finished up testing all of our exhausts, and now we've got a lot of different results to give to you. So obviously we tested the power of each exhaust, we tested the decibel reading inside the car, we tested the decibel reading outside the car, and we made note of the max increase in power. Now, that isn't necessarily at our peak horsepower number. That number oftentimes is actually slightly lower in the power band, which is kind of nice because that's where you're driving the truck most of the time. And it's essentially the highest difference, or the highest kind of area between the two lines on the dyno graph where we saw the most increase in power. So, like I said, we got a lot of results for you, and let's get into it. So, we started with our stock exhaust, we ran it on the dyno, and we got a baseline horsepower reading of 237 horsepower, 229 foot-pounds of torque. From there, we measured the decibel reading inside the car, inside the truck, just driving around, and we got 83 decibels inside the truck. Outside the truck, we got a reading of 77.7. So, again, we have a cold air intake installed, we've got much range, so maybe a little noise reflected there, but overall, a very quiet setup with the stock exhaust. From there, it was time to go ahead and start testing our performance exhaust. The first one that we tested was the Afe Rock Basher 2.5 inch. This was actually one of my favorites on the list, mostly just because of the design. But that 2.5 one, that Rock Basher, was a super low profile design. It dumped short of the axle, so small, less pieces, easy to install, and it sounded really good. And it also made pretty impressive power numbers. We came in with that one at 248 horsepower and 238 foot-pounds of torque. We saw a max horsepower gain of 12 horsepower. We saw a max torque gain of 10 foot-pounds, and that was at 6,500 RPM. So pretty high up in the power band, and that's right about where most of them were. We got a pretty consistent gain throughout the whole power band, but that was where we saw the biggest difference. We measured the decibels inside the cab with the Afe Rock Basher at 88 decibels, so a little bit on the louder side for that one, but a great sounding exhaust, great note, great growl to it. The max decibel reading outside the truck was 86.7. From there, we moved on to our Gibson exhaust. The Gibson exhaust was one of the more affordable options on the list, but unfortunately we did lose power with the Gibson exhaust. We came in at 230 horsepower and 220 foot-pounds of torque. So no gains to be discussed there, but we actually lost 7 horsepower and 9 foot-pounds of torque, and that was at 6,200 RPM. With the Gibson exhaust, we measured 86.4 decibels inside the cab. We measured 81.6 decibels outside the cab. From the Gibson exhaust, we went ahead and took that off, and we thought, you know what? Before we put this back on, let's see what the truck does with no exhaust. Let's see what's on the table, what it sounds like, how loud is this thing really with no exhaust on it, and how much power is there to be gained if you just rip the whole thing off. So that's exactly what we did. We took the exhaust off, didn't put anything back on, we strapped it down to the dyno, and we cranked out 245 horsepower and 235 foot-pounds of torque. That was a gain of 9 horsepower and 8 foot-pounds of torque at a little bit lower in the power band. That one came in at 5,800 RPM, which is kind of the most usable gain that we saw throughout the whole testing, but I would not do this to your daily driver. It did not sound good, it was rattly, it was raspy. But an interesting test nonetheless, and it was very, very loud. So inside the cab, we got a decibel reading of 90.9. So the highest decibel number that we saw the whole time. Outside the truck, we got 86.5. With no exhaust, it was very, very loud. I wouldn't do it to my daily driver. It would drive me nuts, you know, if my truck was like that every day, but it wasn't quite as loud as I was expecting. And that was kind of a common theme with all of these exhausts. You know, we were measuring the noise level with all of them, but none of them were offensive. You know, all of them had different notes that we liked, or maybe like some more than others. None of them were so loud that it was a pain. You know, the drone on these wasn't bad. The 3-inch exhaust we kind of found to be a little bit louder drone wise, maybe not decibel wise, but just what you hear when you're driving around at like 2,000 to 3,000 RPM. But again, all of them had their own unique tone. All of them were pretty tasteful. So after testing the truck with no exhaust at all, we moved on to our MagnaFlow Overland series exhaust. This one was pretty interesting because you could configure the sound level. So the muffler had resonators that could attach to the outside of the muffler that were different lengths, and we ran the middle length to essentially get the medium setting on as far as the sound goes, and it sounded really good. We strapped it down to the dyno, and with the MagnaFlow installed, we got 245 horsepower, we got 232 foot-pounds of torque. That one had a max gain of 10 horsepower and 9 foot-pounds of torque, again, at 6,500 RPM. That's where we saw most of them. We got a max decibel reading pulling out onto the road and really revving it out of 87 decibels inside the truck, and outside the truck, we got a decibel reading of 81.9. After the MagnaFlow exhaust came our Corsa Perfomance Catback exhaust, and that one made a pretty decent power number of 245 horsepower on the dyno. That one put down 234 foot-pounds of torque, but we saw a max horsepower increase of 10.5 horsepower. We saw a max torque increase of 8.5 foot-pounds, and that was all, again, at 6,500 RPM. Max decibel reading inside the cab was 85.9. Max decibel reading outside the cab was 83.4. The Corsa was a really refined sounding exhaust. The quality on it was great. Install went really smooth, but we had plenty more exhaust to test, and we moved on to our Afe MACH Force XP 3-inch exhaust. That one put down a really impressive 249 horsepower and 236 foot-pounds of torque. We got a max realized gain on that one of 13.6 horsepower and 11 foot-pounds of torque at 6,500 RPM. Inside the cab, we read 83.8, and outside the cab, we read 84 decibels. That one, again, was another really high-quality option of all the ones that we tested. The quality was really good, the packaging was good, the exhaust looked nice, it sounded really good, and the power numbers were impressive. After the Afe MACH Force XP 3-inch, we moved on to our MBRP exhaust. That was also a 3-inch exhaust, and it put down 246 horsepower and 232 foot-pounds of torque. That one had a max realized horsepower gain of 12 horsepower and 10 foot-pounds of torque at 6,500 RPM. As far as the decibel reading goes for the MBRP, we got 84.3 inside the cab and 86.7 outside the cab. The MBRP is one of the cheaper exhausts on the list. Power-wise and sound-wise, it's great. The install on that one was just a little bit harder. You know, we had to work around a little bit. But we got it all installed, and we were pretty happy with the sound and definitely pretty happy with the performance. From there, we moved on to test our Borla S-Type Catback exhaust, and that one put down 245 horsepower and 233 foot-pounds of torque. We got an 11 horsepower gain and 9.2 foot-pounds of torque gained at 6,500 RPM. Decibel reading inside the cab, we got 85.5. Decibel reading outside the cab, we got 79.8. To the Borla exhaust, we moved on to our Engine Super SES stainless exhaust, and this was by far the shiniest exhaust on the list. This thing was just like mirror finish, super good looking exhaust. Had a really, really high quality feel to it, and the sound on this one was awesome. The power was impressive as well at 246 horsepower, 235 foot-pounds of torque, 235.6 pounds of torque with a max gain of 9 horsepower and 7.5 foot-pounds of torque at 6,200 RPM. So most of these were at 6,500. That one was very slightly lower. The max decibel reading we got inside the cab was 85.4, and the max decibel reading we got outside the cab was 82.4. So from there, we moved on to our AWE exhaust. This one was pretty unique because it was a true dual design. So it means it had an H pipe, it replaced the factory Y pipe, and it was the only exhaust that we tested to actually do that. So most of these connected right behind the factory Y pipe and ran to the back of the truck or dumped just before the axle. This one, again, replaced that factory wide pipe with a true dual all the way out to the exhaust tips, the crossover in the middle for some exhaust scavenging, and with that, it came with a really, really unique exhaust note. This one sounded different than all the other ones on the list. I could easily, you know, if there was essentially a blind sound test, I could pick this one out every time. It was just the most unique sounding, and it was also coincidentally our winner. As far as power numbers go, this one put down 251.6 horsepower, 239.4 foot-pounds of torque with a max realized gain of 15.1 horsepower. Again, that's the most that we saw of all of these. You know, we had some really impressive exhausts on the list, but that was our best number. We picked up 12.5 foot-pounds of torque, and that was all at 6.3 thousand RPM. So not only was it the highest performing, we got those highest numbers slightly lower in the power band, which is always a good thing. As far as the sound goes, it was on the louder side. It got 86.4 decibels inside the cab, and we got 87.3 decibels outside the cab. All right, guys, so we just finished up testing a lot of different exhausts, and with that, we have a lot of data for you. We'll put that together nice in a chart for you, and we want to know, did we miss anything? Are there any other exhausts that you want to see tested on this platform or really any other Toyota platform at all? This won't be the last exhaust shootout, but we really appreciate you guys sticking around for the video. We'll see you in the next one.